Many people are described as being universally loved, respected, and admired within the community, but there are few for whom it would be as broad-based as it is for Rabbi Chaim Gutnick. The messages in that brochure from the Premier of Victoria, Steve Braggs, the Ambassador of Israel, Gabi Levy, Israel's Prime Minister, Ehud Barak, each identify another community which has benefited from his contributions. At a difficult time in the JNF of Victoria's history, some 60-odd years ago, Rabbi Chaim Gutnick stepped in and accepted the presidency almost 40 years ago, without which it would not be the vibrant organization it is today, as is evidenced by this evening and your presence here. I asked you earlier to share your Rabbi Chaim Gutnick story with each other, but I have one story to share with you, which I know the other party isn't here to share with you tonight. A sergeant major that inducted a young rabbi when he volunteered for the Australian Army asked his name and was told, Shneur Chaim Gutnick. The answer came back in a polite fashion, not no way. From now on, you will be Harold James Gutnick, a name that Chaim is so proud of, he continues to use it on official documents to this day. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you a great Australian, a great Jew, a great rabbi, and a wonderful human being, Rabbi Chaim Gutnick, also known as Harold James Gutnick.
Thank you, Mr. Naftalai. The Honourable the Premier and his lady, Sir Zelman and Lady Cowan, members of Parliament that were, that are, that will be, His Excellency the Ambassador, and Colonel Ranan, our visitor. And I'm not going to say ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to say and friends. My son mentioned that I am a Cohen. That's a biological thing, not an achievement of mine. My father was one, so I am one. But it has been tested and proven in Israel that Kohanim have a special gene which others don't have. Be that as it may, our sages tell us that Kohanim have attributes, special kind of attributes, which is in their genes. They are peace-loving, compassionate, and men of truth. Our sages tell us that as a person grows older, the various passions that a human being has are weakened and diminished, excepting for one, the passion for kavod, the passion for honor. That doesn't disappear even if you're as old as I am. Have your choice. Either you accept that I'm a Cohen and I speak the truth, or you will tilt the scales on what our sages say is the characteristic of a human being. I want to tell you the honest truth. I am not a man who searches for covert for honor. I don't want it. I don't need it. And if someone will ask me if that's the case, why did you accept to be the honoree tonight? Then I will tell you for two reasons. First of all, because I knew that the JNF was going to launch an important appeal this evening. And if, by lending my name for whatever reason and for whatever opportunity there may be, it will increase the contributions, the adherence of people towards that effort, then it has been worthwhile. The second reason is that I hope that any honor extended to me, if it reflects on my community, on my people, on my God, and on my faith, then the exercise is worthwhile. And even though I sometimes wonder, after hearing the addresses tonight, I'll come back home tonight and ask my wife who I really am. But if, because of this evening, the image of a Jewish person will be more respected, if because of tonight, the cause of the JNF will be more supported, then I am ready and happy to bear the embarrassment of having given so much honor. Courtesy demands of me that even though I said I don't like it and I don't want it and I don't need it, but the intentions of those who wanted to honor me are such that I must express my appreciation to them, to the JNF, to the patrons, to the sponsors, to all of you who have come here and used the opportunity to pay some sort of tribute to me. I thank you for it, and being a man of truth, I tell you sincerely, I am most humbled by it. And I take the compliments that you gave me as a compliment to the Jewish community of Melbourne. I should really stop here, but I know you expect me to say something, and I take the opportunity of sharing a few thoughts with you. I spent a life, like most of the people in my age, of history in its fullness. Such fast, tragic, immense events that life must be enriched by it. But there are two events that happened in my life that have shaped my thoughts and been the impetus behind practically everything I have done in my lifetime. The first one, and may God forgive me for saying this, and I ask pardon for my children. but I have rued the day that I was born in this world to witness this. And of course I refer to the beginning of 1933 to the end of 1945, the Holocaust. That event, those events have obsessed my emotions, my feelings, and my thoughts. And it was not only the scourge of Nazism and fascism, it was also the nonchalant attitude of the world during that time, the silence of the religions of the world, the silence of most of the politicians, the allowing that scourge to grow from 1933 onwards until the world had to fight a war to save itself, and we lost the best of our people during that fight. I remember I came during the war to Australia. In my wildest imagination, I couldn't have imagined that it was going to happen. What I learned afterwards happened. But I had some idea of the bitterness, of the suffering, of the dangers that lurked against my people. And so when I came to Australia, the first thing I wanted to do, and it seems funny for a rabbi to say this, but I wanted to take a gun and to fight. And so I joined the Australian Army. Fortunately, I didn't shoot anyone. And to this day, I can't think how I would have. I find it difficult to kill a hand. But what it did for me was that I decided then and there, whilst I was still a single young man all by myself, that I was going to devote my life to what is called the survivors. And even though I was married, well-to-do, and beginning to build a family, when the call came from a congregation here in Melbourne, who most of its members were survivors, I decided to throw everything overboard and to give my life and service to them. And I must tell you that their needs, their desires were paramount in my service. I sometimes did things which went against my grain, sometimes things even against my principle. But if I felt that it served the needs of those survivors, I was there for them. And so, I could have got positions overseas. As you heard, I was offered a position in Israel, and I very much wanted to go. But like a magnet, they kept me here in Melbourne because this was a center where survivors had come. I don't know why it was. At the time, I remember that I even felt during the war and just after a bitterness against society. I just couldn't tolerate a world that could tolerate a Holocaust. I couldn't tolerate religions and isms that could tolerate Nazism and fascism. And it was not until 1948, when the nations of the world got together and decided in their wisdom, and it was appropriate at that time, to grant the remnants of a butchered people a little bit of territory which they could call their home and their land. And how well I remember how the first founder of the State of Israel and its first Prime Minister stood up in New York in the United Nations and picked up the Bible and said, in front of friend and foe, this Bible gives us the right to the land of Israel. And I remember when I heard it, how a shiver went down my spine. And the renewal of faith and the inherent decency of humanity, of countries, of politicians. And in 1948 was restored to me the belief that maybe the world is not really as bad as what I thought it was or what I had seen. But it was a peculiar thing that out of all the nations of the world, out of all the peoples of the world, the ones who are closest to us, the ones who are our kith and kin, are the Arabs. The ones who are closest to our religion is the Arab religion. That they, more than anyone else, would not accept the establishment of the State of Israel. Oh, I know. I remember when I first arrived in Australia and I met with people who were negotiating with the then Australian government about some independent autonomous state for Jews up in the Northern Territory in the Kimberleys. I remember how many thought that maybe Uganda should be the place where we should go. Communism wanted to give us Birobijan. But because of the great love and sentiment that Jewry had for the ancient new land called the land of Israel, it was only there that we could make our home and the world understood and recognized it. We didn't start to fight our Arab neighbors. They started in 1948 when the state was declared. With the sanctions of the United Nations, they tried to destroy it. War after war, killing after killing. They tried to destroy that little bit of land, that little bit of place that we called home for those who needed a home. From that time on till the present, Israel, and when I say Israel, I mean the Jewish people, have been caught in a crossfire between what I call unloving critics and uncritical lovers. Uncritical lovers are those who say, like that great American patriot, may my country be right, but whether it is or not, my country. And that is a wrong attitude. Maybe the more correct attitude is, may my country be right. And if it is right, may it continue to be so. And if, God forbid, it is wrong, may it turn to be right. I want to tell something to the Melbourne Jewish community. I have never felt that just because someone has a different opinion to me, just because someone criticizes the state of Israel or criticizes Jews, it doesn't necessarily stamp them immediately as being anti-Semitic. A true friend is a friend who criticizes with love. One who is blind to the faults of his people and his country is not a true friend. A true friend is someone who politely, respectfully tells you what is wrong. The trouble with an uncritical lover is that all he sees is my virtues. I don't have to have him to point it out to me. I know them myself, thank you very much. And the fault with an unloving critic is that he sees nothing that you do is any good. We are torn in this world by these two extremes. By people who whatever Israel does is wrong, and by those who believe that everything Israel does is right. Ask Israeli themselves, and they'll tell you that they are human beings, and they make mistakes. If there are people in the world who disagree with the things we do, by all means, we will accept it with the grace and with the love that you extend to the Jewish people. Just don't do it with hatred and with blind bias. Even though you may claim you're not an anti-Semite, but it gives them food for their evil work. I am greatly troubled, greatly worried about what is happening in Eretz Israel. The situation is much more serious than people realize. Hate is an emotion that is very hard to combat. And we must try our best to solidify the Jewish people throughout the world, to give that little country called Israel the haven and the hope of the Jewish people, all the help, all the things that it needs in order to survive securely. If the JNF tonight has launched this project with Cold Drop of Water, in the short term, maybe it will be Jewish money. In the short term, maybe it will be Israelis that will do the work. But in the long term, it will benefit all the inhabitants of the Middle East. It might even benefit countries outside the Middle East, as was stated by our Premier. We live in very difficult times, and any kind of assistance that is given towards the state of Israel, either financially, morally, or in any other way, is appreciated by our people and is the correct attitude to have. But one thing I want to tell the world: they may challenge me, criticize me, even condemn me, but they'll never rob me of something that is vital to life, and that is hope. We had a poet by the name of Yehuda Halevi who wrote those marvelous odes about Zion. And in one of those odes he writes that we are asirei tikva, prisoners of hope. That's one prison that no Jew should ever want to be liberated from. Our national anthem is Hatikva, hope. We have lived for centuries and overcome various vicissitudes because we had hope. Never lose that hope. As dim as things may look, but our history is built on a better tomorrow. I am reminded of a midrashic story. A farmer had a bucket of milk in one of his barns, and 2 frogs fell into that bucket. One frog, seeing his helpless position, gave up and drowned. The other one kept thrashing violently throughout the night. The next morning, the farmer was surprised to come in and see in the bucket filled with butter, and on top was sitting a gasping, tired frog. We are the thrashers of society. We thrash around, but we will never give up hope. And even though I have lived through terrible times, I still believe, and I want you to believe with me. The world is not doomed and condemned to war and fighting, to hate. Humanity was not created to kill out each other. Humanity was not only created to send rockets up to the sky. Humanity was made in order to bring a little bit of heaven down on earth. We will do it one day. And I want to say this to the Premier about Australia. Australia is a wonderful country. And as he said, Australia is going through a revolutionary period. A period which some people call a merger of different cultures. The only hope for democracy is when people of different faiths, people of different creeds, people of different backgrounds are allowed to preserve their cultures, their beliefs and their practices. The basis of democracy is not only the right of everyone to have equal rights of somebody else. The basis of democracy is my right to be different if I want to. I'm, of course, a Jewish rabbi. Somebody once asked me what kind of rabbi I am. I said, a Jewish one. Mr. Premier, maybe you have come to support the JNF. Maybe you have come to honor me. But there's something much more in your presence in our sitting together. Let us show the world that whatever differences there may be, whatever backgrounds we may come from, we can still respect each other. And even though we may have different views, you still don't have to be violent about them. Maybe your presence here this evening will teach all Victorians a lesson, that under the banner of Australia, the differences that exist in other countries should be dropped. Here, we are one people, multicultural, but all united under the democratic banner of this wonderful country called Australia. Victoria should be the example. And maybe tonight we have set that example. And as difficult as it may seem to people to break through those barriers, but let's thrash around. Let's not give up hope. Let us believe that tomorrow will be a better day than today, and next week will be a better week than last week. That peace will eventually come to the Middle East, and that our kith and kin there will realize that their future depends on the welfare and the future of their brethren in the land of Israel, and that together we may enjoy the benefits that the JNF will bring. I've had a bit of reluctance about tonight. Usually tributes are paid to persons who are on the other side or on the verge. I would like to believe that I've still got years ahead of me, and that your hope, your faith, together with my service and the examples set by people like the Premier, will bring the tomorrow that we all hope and pray for the benefit of ourselves, the whole of humanity, and our future generations. Thank you very much.